Hello, my friends. It's Shawn from the blog she'sinorelement.com, and today I want to talk biscuits. I think everybody out there has a biscuit recipe in their family, and my family is no exception. My great-grandma always had an amazing biscuit recipe that we all used and we all followed. However, the biscuit recipe has been lost. So we've all been left to fend for ourselves, trying to figure out the biscuit recipe. I watched my grandmother so many times make these biscuits, but I was so young, I just literally cannot recall all of the ingredients. I know some of them, but I haven't been able to replicate her biscuits whatsoever until now. I have a few cookbooks that I really love, and I am very picky about the cookbooks that I will purchase and cook from. I love a good fancy meal, but I also love a down-to-earth comfort meal that I know my family, my husband, my grandchildren will eat. So when it comes to picking a cookbook or finding a chef that I like to follow, that's the criteria it has to meet. Is it something that my family will eat? Are the ingredients easy to find? Are they things that I normally might keep in my own pantry? If the answer is yes to all of this, then I'm down for that cookbook. And I happen to love Joanna Gaines Magnolia Table cookbook. This is phenomenal. There are a lot of down-to-earth recipes that are family-friendly, ingredient-friendly. You don't need to fly to Taiwan to find an ingredient to make something just absolutely amazing. It's all down-to-earth food, and that's what I love. And when I was going through her cookbook, I happened upon her biscuit recipe. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna try this and see. And the two differences that I can recall off the top of my head, my great-grandma used salt in her biscuit recipe. Joanna does not. And my great-grandma did not refrigerate her biscuits. Joanna's are refrigerated. But I said, you know what? Let's try it. I mean, she's a really good cook and I love a lot of her food. So, you know, maybe this will work just fine. So I made the biscuits, and I literally have to say, it is my great-grandmother's recipe with those two exceptions. There's no salt, and they are refrigerated. But, oh my goodness, this is probably the best biscuit next to my grandparents that I have ever had. And once I discovered her recipe, I said, you know what? I'm done looking for biscuits. This is it. When you find something that's incredible and delicious, why look any further? Use what you have and work with it. So today, I'm gonna bring you along as I make some of Joanna Gaines' amazing buttermilk biscuits. Let's put our aprons on and get this going. So while I throw these together really quick to show you how easy it is, I am also going to link my blog post in the description below that will take you directly to Joanna Gaines' printable recipe from my blog. Super easy, and I really hope that you guys will pop on over and print it off for yourself to have. It's amazing, and your family will love these biscuits as much as mine do. Let's get going. First, I'm just going to sift the baking powder, the baking soda, and the flour into my large bowl, and then I am just going to stir to combine. Next, I am going to grate my butter right in there. It's nice and cold. I find grating the butter just makes it better than using the cubes and the chunks, and it's just so much easier to incorporate this way. And it shreds it nice. And when it comes to using butter to bake with, I don't skimp. I use really good butter. It makes all the difference. Okay, got the butter all in there. Got the butter all in there, and now I'm just going to use my pastry cutter, and I am going to cut all of the butter in with the dough. Now, you can also use your hands. Sometimes your fingers work better than a pastry cutter, so you do what works for you. I'm going to try to avoid the mess of my hands right now and see how far I can get with the pastry cutter. Well, now I'm actually going to go in with my hands. I like to be able to feel what I'm doing and feel that the butter is incorporated nicely with the flour. Now we're going to add 2 beaten eggs. I just love my eggs from my girls. Now we're going to add our eggs to our flour mixture. And I'm just going to stir it until it's nice and combined. Now we're going to add our buttermilk. And we are going to stir it together until it literally just becomes a big old sticky mess. Big old sticky mess. Perfect. Now I'm just going to cover the bowl, and this is going to go in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes, and it can go up to overnight. So you could actually make this ahead and have it ready for tomorrow for breakfast if you wanted. But we're going to have it with dinner, so I'm going to cover it and put it in the fridge for 30 minutes. Well, it's actually been an hour. I got a little busy outside cleaning up the coop and running around a little bit trying to catch some chickens. Always fun. And I'm cold, so now I'm in black, which is awful because I'm going to work with flour and I'm going to wear it. But hey, that's part of the fun, right? All right, I'm going to take my dough and I'm going to turn it out onto my counter, which I just have lightly floured. Here is another tip. When I need to, lightly flour a surface to turn a dough out onto, I like to actually use a sieve to sift it through. And I like to just set it in my flour container with a little bit of flour ready to go. And then I can just really kind of sprinkle it as I need it. Super easy, lift it right out, a little bit down. Good to go. I can't really do it well with my left hand, so there's a little more, but I'll mix it around and you get what I mean. All right, I got my surface lightly floured. I have removed my rings and I am going to turn out this very sticky dough onto the counter. I'm actually going to add a little bit more. And I'm just kind of gonna take the severe stick out of it. You don't want too much flour. You don't need too much flour. It's actually good. So I can work with it, but it is still sticky. All right, we have our dough, and it says you can use your hands to flatten it out to a 1/2 inch thick, but I think it's fun to bust out one of my antique rolling pins that I don't get to use very often. And I'm just gonna kind of make like a 14-inch round, 1/2 inch thick piece. Now I am using a 2-inch cutter. I have these cutters that I use for cakes, for fondant and whatnot, and I thought that they would be perfect for the biscuit. I'm not going to use the cute scalloped edge detail because I just don't feel that's necessary. I'm just going to use up all of this dough by cutting it with the 2-inch round. You know, one of the things that I love about these biscuits is you can tell how good they're going to be because as you're cutting them out now, you can smell the butter, you can smell the buttermilk. It is just absolutely yummy smelling already, and I haven't even gotten them in the oven, which, by the way, I am preheating to 400 degrees, and I am going to put these on a cookie sheet with parchment paper on it, and I am going to bake them. But I'm going to show you a little trick that I do with my parchment paper. It just is so much easier. I've worked with it for so long, and I know how difficult and challenging parchment paper can be to get it to lay flat. And I have a great tip for that. So I'm just gonna finish getting all of these biscuits cut out. I'm going to use all this dough up. So once this is gone, I'm gonna re-roll it out and just keep going so I can fill my cookie sheet. All right, so you know how parchment paper just curls, and like you can put it like that and maybe it'll stay, maybe it won't. If you try that, it's not gonna happen. Take your paper, crinkle it up, set it down. Honestly, I think it works great. Now we're gonna set our biscuits down and they're gonna touch. All right, so I got about 35 biscuits out of that. Again, that's with the 2-inch cutter. You'll get less if you use a bigger biscuit cutter. You do whatever you like. Now I am just gonna give it a wash with an egg and some buttermilk whisked together. This is what's gonna give them that golden, amazing color. If you don't give a dough a type of a wash, it actually won't get that golden color to it. It'll kind of stay the color that it is raw, but it'll be cooked. And I just don't find that appetizing. I love to see just a beautiful golden crusty color on my biscuits. Oh, I like to see color on any of my food, to be honest with you. But if you don't have another egg or you can't do this type of a wash, I mean, it'll still be a good biscuit. It's just not going to be as pretty. And I always have said, you eat first with your eyes. So the food I make not only has to taste good, but it has to look good too. You know, I'm not going to serve people something that's questionable, even though it might taste delicious. You got to make sure presentation is done and ready. And yeah, so that simple egg and buttermilk wash is going to give these biscuits an amazing color. And now I am going to pop them into my 400-degree oven, and I'm going to bake them for about 15-20 minutes. The biscuits are out and they look amazing. I wish you could smell how they smell, because they are just absolutely divine. So now I'm going to show you how we like to enjoy them. First things first, we have to have some delicious real butter on there, and this is, I believe it's the I believe this is the Kerrygold butter from my butter dish, but it could be the Vermont Creamery. I'm thinking it's the first one though. And then I like to take some honey. Just drizzle it on there. How good does that look? I cannot wait to eat this. And now we test it. It's such a good biscuit. Like I said, if someone's done the work and perfected the biscuit, roll with their biscuit, give them the credit for it, but enjoy that recipe. This is really so good. It's a very flaky, light, buttery, delicious biscuit that has an amazing crunch on the bottom and a gorgeous, gorgeous color on the top. I'm enjoying mine, as you saw, with some fresh butter and honey, and life doesn't get any better than this. Might not even make steak. Might eat a pan of biscuits for dinner. It's so good. If you haven't tried Joanna Gaines biscuit recipe, which she fondly calls, or actually I'm pretty sure Chip named her biscuits, they're called JoJo's biscuits. And again, I'm going to have in the description below the link to my blog where I go into depth about this recipe, and I will also share a printable version of JoJo's biscuits because everybody needs to enjoy these. So good. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today as I showed you how to do JoJo's biscuits. And again, this is a phenomenal buttermilk biscuit recipe. If you've been looking for one, look no further. This is it. If you're working on one because you need a perfect biscuit one, try this. You could probably save yourself some time and just be like, hey, that's pretty good. So that's what I think anyways. I am definitely going to enjoy these tonight. My husband is totally going to drool over them when he sees that I made them. And the grandbabies are going to love them tomorrow. You don't have to put honey on them. They are delicious on their own. My grandkids like to put a little bit of butter and a little bit of Nana's jam on there. So the possibilities are endless. They also make an amazing base for sausage and gravy over biscuits. Like, you can do a lot of things with these. And they are freezable. So you can keep them for a couple of weeks in your freezer if you make a big batch like I did. I'm not going to eat 35 of them. Well, I might. They are that good. So, thank you so much for stopping by the homestead. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. I make 2 new videos every week on scratch cooking, a simple lifestyle, and a handmade home one day at a time. I'm also the author of the blog she'sInHerElement.com, so that's another fun thing you might want to check out as well. Thanks so much for stopping by the homestead, and I will see you guys real soon. Try these biscuits. I'm not kidding.